Once again, everybody, welcome to the Drought Planning Workshop webinar. Thanks so much for being here. We appreciate your interest and your participation. So we're going to go ahead and get started now. We're very enthused by the large amount of interest statewide in this discussion today. I'm Kevin Riggs, and I'm going to be facilitating the discussion today. Many of you may remember me as the former political reporter at KCRA 3 in Sacramento. I covered a lot of drought and water stories over the years, although everybody here knows there is no real nexus between politics and water policy in California. The last few years, I've been working as a political analyst for the station, but also working in strategic communications and media relations. And in some cases, I've had the chance to work directly with some of the people here in the audience. So glad to be here today. Obviously, very excited for the chance to facilitate this discussion on behalf of California's Save Our Water campaign, and to really get to the heart of the matter here, the real reason for this discussion today, and that is to share ideas and to discuss our collective wisdom and experience in order to better conserve water and to better manage resources, especially in the face of climate extremes. There are no trade secrets here, people. This is a chance for all of us to benefit directly from the collective wisdom of this group, and that's what we're going to be attempting to do today. We are recording today's session, by the way, so that people who have not had a chance to attend will be able to access this discussion a little bit later. After all the presentations are complete, we have set aside time to hear from all of you. So if you'd like to share out, if you'd like to make a comment, please use the hand raise function in order to get the attention of staff. And then when you're called upon, you then can ask your question. So with those housekeeping rules out of the way, let's launch the program this afternoon. And to do that, we go to my friend, Natural Resources Deputy Secretary for Water, Nancy Vogel. Nancy.
Hey, Kevin, thank you. And thanks to everybody for joining this afternoon. I don't know why it is, but everything seems like it's possible when Kevin Riggs is on the job. So I'm here because my boss, the Secretary for Natural Resources, Wade Crowfoot, couldn't be here. He asked me to channel his enthusiasm, and anyone who knows him knows that's just about impossible. But I'm here to just tell you that this idea for getting all of you together to share your ideas about water conservation came directly out of the meeting that many of you had a few months ago with the governor. And in fact, I think it was Danielle at CMUA who asked for a forum to share and engage and collaborate. Here you are. So we're all partners together in this Save Our Water effort, and we're here because a bad drought is likely to get worse. Hope always runs high in October when the temperatures start to cool, but we're looking probably at another dry fall and winter. We've got a third straight year of the La Nina pattern predicted to bring cooler, wetter weather to the Pacific Northwest, but hotter, drier weather to the Southwest and to California. This will only be the third triple dip La Nina we've had in California records, and the previous two such years were dry. And even if we do get substantial precipitation this winter, the long-term aridification of our state is here to stay. That's a product of the increasingly warmer average temperatures we've got. As we head into a new year and what we've got to assume will be a fourth dry year, we all know that there's a lot of work to do. So let's just take the next 60 to 90 minutes here and celebrate your work over the past few months. Thanks to you, California has made double-digit water conservation gains. Nearly every single water agency in every region of the state has stepped up. Many of your agencies have surpassed the governor's goal of 15% conservation rates compared to 2020. Your persistence, your innovation, your hard work in your communities, that's how we collectively save water, save California, as our campaign slogan says. And at the state, we're working to build on your good efforts. We want to enhance the work of your customers with significant long-term investments to capture, recycle, desalt, and conserve more water. And we're also rolling out a significant yard transformation program to supplement your local efforts. Just last week, DWR announced $500 million in grants available to help agencies and communities to adjust to a hotter, drier future. That includes $300 million specifically for turf replacement programs at the local level. We encourage you to visit water.ca.gov and then look for the information about the Urban Drought Relief Grant Program to find more details. Big thanks to all of you for being here. Big thanks to you for sharing your experiences, and I'll turn it back to Kevin.
All right, Nancy, thank you for setting the stage, for framing the challenge that faces all of us here in California with regard to proper management of our water resources, given the weather conditions that we are in right now and that we will be facing in the coming years. We turn now to the panel discussion part of the program. This is really the key to what we're doing here today, is to hear from 4 different water representatives about programs that they have undertaken and the success that they have seen. And again, this is all part of benefiting from the collective wisdom of people who've tried these different things to see what works. Everybody's always looking for the magic bullet, the silver bullet, and there is no one bullet, obviously, but we can all benefit collectively from these different solutions. I remember a number of years ago when I was working in Fresno, we were in a serious drought in California in the early 90s. And so I loaded up a photographer and we went down to Santa Barbara to see how they were handling the drought, because they weren't tied into the water project. They were painting their lawns green. The city had agreed to invest in a desal plant. And so we decided to go down and see how they were handling it. We got down there to do the stories and it started to rain. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and eventually that was the end of the drought. So if only that could be the solution, and we know it's never quite that easy. So let me go ahead and introduce our panelists. We have, first of all, Ed Stevenson, who's the General Manager of the Alameda County Water District. He'll be talking about their Rapid Alert Notification System. We also have Haley Munson, the Water Efficiency Specialist with the Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, and Haley will be talking about their multi-family housing water use efficiency pilot program. We also have Ken Jenkins, the Chief Water Sustainability Officer for CalWater, talking about smart landscape tune-up program that they've implemented. And we also have Jim Pfeiffer, the Executive Director of the Regional Water Authority, talking about their landscape rebate and polling. And again, we'll have a chance for people to ask questions after each presentation. So for now, let's turn it over to Ed Stevenson. Ed?
Well, great, and thanks for having me. I'm really excited to share. I don't necessarily have the silver bullet, but I am excited to share at least one of those tools that has worked for my agency, Alameda County Water District. You know, I'm kind of a big believer in, you know, if we find something that works, let's share it. We're all members of the same industry. We can amplify those things that work, and we can help others to avoid those things that don't work so well, as long as we communicate and collaborate. And I think that's one of the real benefits that, you know, organizations like ACWA and CUWA and the other sort of sponsors of this program are really deliver our forums for those types of communications. So it's really valuable. So in that spirit, I'd like to share one of those tools that has worked for ACWD that we call our Rapid Alert Notification System, or RANS. But before we get into that, just a little bit about my agency, Alameda County Water District. We are a retail water agency. We serve a population of around 345,000 people in the cities of Fremont, Newark, and Union City in the southeastern corner of San Francisco Bay. And our customer base, as you can see on the chart here, is largely residential. About 70% of our customer base is residential. And so that means lots of single family homes. There's some with large yards and irrigated turf and other things. And so because of this, when we work with our customers to conserve water, we're generally focusing on outdoor water use as a start, especially, you know, landscape irrigation, which is a significant portion of our overall residential water use. So the next slide, please. So we know that broad water use reduction and savings requires an understanding of the need and behavioral changes by our customers. And so really at the first sign of an extended drought back in 2021, we launched a pretty comprehensive customer outreach program we call One Saves Water. And that's really meant to drive home a simple message that simple actions can really add up to save a significant amount of water. And then as the drought progressed and water supply conditions continued to decline, we knew we needed to take more formal action, and our board declared a stage 2 water shortage emergency at the end of last year. And as part of that, our board adopted an ordinance with mandatory water use restrictions, and they were designed to achieve a 15% demand reduction across our service area. And that emergency declaration also provided for the implementation of drought stage rates, or water supply emergency stage rates. And for us, that means a 15% surcharge on the volumetric side of our bills. And all of that, plus lots of other things I didn't mention, did result in some significant water savings by our customers. They really dug down and began to conserve water significantly. But we were still falling short of our 15% water use reduction goal going into the summer. So we dug down deeper and reached down into our water shortage contingency planning toolkit, and we pulled out some other tools, including our rapid area alert notification system, to send out drought advisory messages. And immediately following use of that system, we saw a significant reduction in customer water demands, and that level of conservation has been sustained ever since. So we can go on to the next slide. And so here's what our use of our RAN system looked like. So in a nutshell, our customers received through this RAN system several messages. They were automated messages. They received automated phone calls. They received automated text messages and emails. And the messages were very similar across these various platforms. And it was a simple message reminding our customers of the severity of the drought and the need to conserve water, and directing our customers to our website, where we had a lot more information available and tools and tips and lots of other resources. The email in this RAN's notification included additional information. It's easier to include more detail in an email related to our ordinance and links to the various resources on our website. But overall, the message was simple and it was actionable. And you can see here, if you kind of stare at the chart, the results were immediate and really significant. We saw an additional, above and beyond the conservation, the savings that we had received up till that point, we saw an additional 5 to 7% that was due directly to the RAN's messaging. And that put us squarely on target with our 15% objective. And again, we've kind of been there ever since. We also saw that visits to our Drought webpage went way up, 350%. A lot of people accessing the information, the tools and resources that we have available. Calls to our water use efficiency staff more than doubled. So our customers clearly got the message and they clearly responded. So, also shown on this slide are some of our key takeaways for use of this system in the event you're interested in doing the same thing. In the interest of time, I won't go through those in detail, but be happy to discuss more during the Q&A. But, in summary, we found that the use of our RAN system was really effective in increasing awareness of the significance of the drought and achieving those behavioral changes that we needed from our customers to reduce overall demands and help us meet our demand reduction objectives. So with that, I think I'll turn it over and see if there are maybe Q&A or questions now or later, Kevin.
So one of the questions being asked, which system did ACWD use?
Our system is, I think I'm not here sort of advocating for one system over another, but the system that we use is called iInfo. It's available, you can just look them up on the web. But there are other tools and systems available for that use. iInfo.
And I know this was automated. Were the messages uniform to customers regardless of water use?
They were, yeah, they were not tailored to particular customers at any particular usage or anything like that. It was a uniform blast to all of the contact information that we had available in that system.
Looking to see if we have any other questions here from the audience. We'll give it a moment, and if we don't, we can certainly move on to the next panelist.
Actually, Kevin, I do see one question that just popped up. Was it more residential or commercial reduction? I actually don't have those stats on hand, but my guess is it would be more residential, mostly because most of our service area is residential, and most of those people who make the decisions about their water use are residential customers. And so my assumption would be it's mostly residential.
And then another question, how accurate is your customer database? In other words, do you have all of the contact information that you needed, or was that a challenge?
Well, this is a great way to find out. Right? You send out tens of thousands of messages and you find out pretty quickly how accurate your data is. Fairly accurate. We did have some folks that called and said, hey, I moved out of your service area 2 years ago, right? And that's always going to be a result of this type of broad outreach. But I would say it was fairly accurate. Our iInfo system is synchronized to our customer information system. So the vast majority of it is directly contact information that is on our customer account records. And we also have the ability for our customers to come in and enroll separately and update their data and so forth. So it's not always going to be perfect, but I'd say it was fairly accurate.
And were the messages in English only, or did you use other languages?
That's a great question. And I think that's one of the areas that we would work on for next time. In this case, we were really anxious to push out this information, get it out to the vast majority of our customers, and really affect that needed water demand reduction. It was in English only.
Were there financial individual penalties for excess and monitoring of each home?
So at this point, ACWD, we're really focused on helping our customers to achieve these demand reductions. We're really trying to provide information and resources. We're not in a mode of penalizing customers for not achieving a certain level of reduction. Our ordinance is very prescriptive. It's very clear what needs to happen. When it doesn't happen, we have several layers of actions that we'll take, mostly involving initial contact, letters, discussion, and we find that in almost every case, that's enough. Takes some effort, but that's been our model. At this level, at a stage 2 in this drought, that's been working for us. If things got far more severe, things might change, but that's been our focus.
And do you have any idea how many of the emails were opened as far as a percentage?
Yeah, let's see. Well, the emails, oh no, actually I don't I don't have that particular data. But we do know, the number of successful phone calls that we placed, the number of successful text messages and so forth. In general, it was pretty successful, right? I mean, it accomplished what it set out to do, which was broadly get this message out. There is a drought, it is real and it's severe, and we need you to take this action. And it was certainly enough to achieve that.
Did you have spam issues, failure to deliver? Did you have much of that?
Yeah, we had some. I'd say not a huge percentage, but we had some, yeah.
Okay, we're going to, we appreciate the discussion and the presentation, and I think there'll be other questions at some point, but for now, we're going to move on to our second panelist. And so we're going to go with Haley Munson, who is with the Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District. Haley.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Haley Munson, and I'm the Water Efficiency Specialist with Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District. And I'm going to briefly go over a recent toilet sensor pilot program that we did for a multifamily complex. Next slide, please. Thank you. So to give you a little background into Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, if you're not familiar, we cover about a 97 square mile service area with approximately 157 people within our area. That's including 46,000 connections for both water and wastewater services. And our cities we cover include Lake Elsinore, Canyon Lake, Wildomar, and then also portions of Murrieta and Temescal Valley. And if I did not mention, it's a Southwest Riverside County. And last year during the summertime, we decided to start a new program or pilot a new program in an effort to increase our program participation for our multifamily customers. Over the years, we've seen a fair amount of participation from our single family homes, but we wanted to try and reach an additional group. With the current programs that were in place for our multifamily, we wanted to try and see if maybe they weren't participating in that for some reason. Let's try and give them a new option. So we decided to test out a direct install program with a toilet sensor to go ahead and track some water waste for that. And this program was funded with partnership of Metropolitan Water District. So anyone on the phone, shout out. Thank you so much for your participation and partnership, Metropolitan. Next slide, please. So I'm sure everyone here knows, toilets are one of the most common indoor leaks that we see through over the years. And so we thought that'd be a great opportunity to evaluate that with a multifamily complex. The company that we utilized for this was Sensor Industries. And so they actually have a toilet sensor device that they use to install directly at each individual toilet, which is between the supply line and the fill valve. And real briefly, what it does is it has like this magnet that's detecting the flow for the toilets. And so what it's doing is, as it's detecting that flow, it's then transmitting that usage information to a cloud. And then there is a portal that you can log on to and monitor and track your water usage for those toilets, as well as receive notifications as well. And this is in real time. Elsinore Valley also is fully 100% on AMI. But what's nice about this is this really tracks specifically for these toilets, so for if a multifamily complex only has 1 meter, they're not sub-metered. This just helps to identify those additional water usage. And based on previous data from other properties that they've tested on, they're estimating their savings is around 11,000 gallons per sensor. Now, I mentioned that we wanted to test this with a multifamily complex. Another important component of this is we also wanted to try and capture our disadvantaged community. Lake Elsinore in particular has a decent amount of disadvantaged community. So we thought this was a really great opportunity to try and further help those customers. Oftentimes they might not participate in a program due to lack of funding. So we thought this was a unique way to go ahead and help that demographic. Utilizing the Department of Water Resources DAC mapping tool, we were able to map out our specific customer area, determining which areas were considered to be eligible under that DAC community. And then after identifying that, looking at individual apartment complexes to determine who would be eligible to participate that. And then from there, with the assistance of my contractor, we would reach out to these apartments on a one-by-one basis and to further gauge who might be interested in. And something that was really nice is because we received this funding with Metropolitan Water District, it was coming at no cost to this apartment complex. So that was an additional buy-in for them, because since we were piloting it, we hadn't done it before, it's a really great chance for them to be more on board with it because it wasn't costing them anything up front. And so we ended up going with a particular apartment complex and installing 176 sensors at their property. And based on Sensor Industries savings, it's around 1.9 million gallons would be their savings estimate for this particular apartment complex. And I know the chart's a little small to see, but these graphics that are on my slide here is what it looks like on the dashboard. So this is actually something that the apartment manager has access to, so they can get real-time data analytics as far as how many gallons are wasted, how many flapper leaks there are, how long certain work orders for when a toilet's leaking, how long it's been open for. So that way they can go in and really monitor and determine what's high priority. And my favorite is the picture on the right-hand side is like this bar chart that you see, and that's each individual apartment number. So they're all assigned a certain number for their individual sensors. And you can actually determine based on that exactly which sensor, apartment 123 is having a leaking toilet, so they can go and address that directly with that resident. Being an apartment complex, the maintenance manager doesn't have day-to-day access necessarily, or they might not be monitoring it on a day-to-day basis. So this really gives them the hands-on tool without having to physically go into the property to do a pre-inspection. They can look at this portal, receive that notification, and then address it as it comes up. Next slide, please. So for our next steps, this was just installed. It's been officially a year now. So what we're going to be doing is, now that it's officially been a year, we are going to be looking at the usage both pre and post installation to determine a real estimate of those savings and to determine what our next steps will be for expanding this program. Using that DWR DAC tool to locate additional sites. And then in addition, as I mentioned, we did direct installation for this particular property, and we might be exploring the idea of expanding it to an incentive program instead. That way, we're not just focusing on one property at a time. We give more people the opportunity to test this as well. I'm sure, as many know, there is a liability issue that comes in to play when you're doing a direct installation. So that is something we will be exploring, whether we continue a direct install or just open up as more of a rebate program. And my contact information is there. I know that was very brief, so please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And Kevin, I'll take any questions we have right now.
Thank you, Haley. And there is a lot of interest in this technology, certainly. The first question, sensor industry states that 20% of toilets do leak. What percent of the toilets that your customers installed the technology on actually had a leak?
So let's see here. I actually have it on my system right now. And just to recap, we're because now we've just had this 1 year completion, we will be doing some more data analysis. So I don't have a lot right now. We wanted to wait after it was a full year. So we definitely, if anyone has additional questions on the savings, you can reach out to me individually because we haven't done that fully yet. But what's really nice about this portal, at least I'm looking at the portal right now, what I'll show you is it's evaluating that 68% have stuck leaks, 16% have a flapper leak. And then it also even tells you which of these are resolved, whether it's 91% were resolved automatically, 9 were resolved by staff. So there's different analytics that you can find from this portal that kind of helps give you the answers.
And who actually received the data? Was it the district itself, or did the customers receive that data as well? Great
question. So the customers actually have access to the portal themselves. Being the program administrator, I also have access. And with it, they might see it a little differently than we do. If we start to add more customers, we will have different dashboards for each customer, but we both have access, and their maintenance manager does get, on a weekly basis, they do get email notifications of any toilet alerts.
And another attendee wants to know, could you clarify the time frame for the savings? 11,000 gallons per sensor over how long a period? 1.9 million gallons saved in the apartment complex over what time frame?
Yes, so that is estimated over a 1 year period. But now that we've had our official 1 year period over, we're going to be evaluating that to determine more actual savings.
And how expensive are the devices themselves?
Yes, so the devices themselves, so for this particular project, we installed 176 sensors. It costs approximately $25,000 for that. I believe each sensor was around $60. And then there is a monthly fee as well, a monthly subscription fee per sensor. That's, I believe, $2.
And what would you say is the return on your investment?
So for that, well, and again, because this is our pilot program, we're estimating once we have that data, we're going to determine more what the savings are. This is based on, what sensor industries determine. So we're looking around $6,000 in the first year savings on their water bill.
One of the questions is AMI should be able to detect leaks. Have you compared leaks for AMI versus this device? Is there a comparison?
Great question. We have not done a comparison, with this, because with our AMI, if it's not sub-metered, the water usage from that AMI is only detecting the entire property usage, not individual unit apartment complexes. So that's why we thought it'd be just interesting to test out something that's more specific to each unit.
And is the gateway using the unit's Wi-Fi or the cellular service in the area?
Yes, it's using Wi-Fi.
Okay. All right, let's go down and see what other questions we have. Is it hard for customers to log into so many portals? Is there any effort to do one-stop shopping for an integrated product?
Great question. Well, so for this in particular, only the apartment manager, the maintenance manager has access to this system. So they've given us positive feedback, but individual residents within this complex, they do not have access.
And is this technology available for commercial urinals and toilets as well, or residential only?
So their focus, Sensor Industries' focus is a multi-unit residential complex. I believe they've expanded beyond that to hospitals. And if anyone has more additional questions, I can get you in contact with my contact with Sensor Industries.
Okay, and then just one last question before we move on. Have you looked into a flow monitoring device for the entire unit instead of just a single toilet?
We have not. Great question. Yeah, this was just something we had heard about this product at a previous meeting, thought it was interesting, and just wanted to pilot it out, give it a try, and see where the savings take us.
Sounds good. All right. Well, Haley, thank you for the presentation and for answering a few of the questions. There are obviously a great many out there, but we're going to be compiling those questions and getting information for people subsequent to this. So thank you. We're going to move on. You bet. We're going to move on now to Ken Jenkins with CalWater. Ken, it's your turn.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks everyone for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the ways in which we're helping customers save water and keep bills affordable. Two things that I know all of us are very interested in doing, and the keeping bills affordable piece is becoming increasingly challenging as well. So next slide, please. So for those that aren't familiar with CalWater, we have 25 service areas in the state of California. You can see them here. We serve a population of about 2 million through about 500,000 service connections throughout these districts. And we run the gamut on the districts from small to large to rural to urban to commercial focused to residential focused. So we have a little bit of everything in those districts. So what I'm going to talk about a little bit about common irrigation issues that I think we're all familiar with and how that led us to develop our Smart Landscape Tune-Up program. I'll give you an overview of that program, some examples, a little bit on participants, and then just highlight a US EPA report that this program was featured in as a case study if you want to get some more information, and then wrap up with some resources. So we're all familiar with these type of common irrigation issues: subsurface leaks, drip line leaks, damaged and broken head, some of which you can see better than others visually, and some that you know about more easily than others. Next slide. We're also looking at outdated and inefficient sprinklers, and boy, that really is an outdated controller. We picked a doozy there to show you, and old broken valves. So these are just some of the issues that we know that our customers, and I know your customers, are experiencing. Next slide. So our Smart Landscape Tune-Up program. So I want to take one step back and say this really was developed to deal with two different issues. One was COVID, what we were seeing during COVID, and one was due to the drought. And it really stemmed from our old bathroom fixture replacement program, our direct install program that we had for about a decade. We had done more than 50,000 installs as part of that program. And we're really transitioning out of that during COVID because we didn't want contractors in people's home face-to-face doing that type of work, but also because we've been transitioning to outdoor as well. So we transitioned to an irrigation controller install program, but what we were finding during COVID was customers were really generating really high bills that they weren't able to pay during that time. And part of it was due to leaks, specifically irrigation leaks. And so we we're looking at a way to expand that irrigation controller install program to something more larger that could address a lot of the issues that we just saw. And so we developed the Smart Landscape Tune-Up program. And so this program provides an initial evaluation of a customer's irrigation system. It's open to all of our customer classes, all of our customers. And then we identify, do an identification and improvement of things like you saw, irrigation leaks, broken equipment, other water saving opportunities. That includes anywhere from installing smart irrigation controllers, high efficiency nozzles, repairing drip. We do repair and replacement of valves that are leaking or not working properly, replacement of spray bodies. So it runs the gamut on all the types of things that we do. We do all of those, our contractor does all of those installations, does the evaluation at no charge to the customer. Next slide. So some examples of this, right? So I said it's open to all of our customers. Our marketing on this program really does focus on our low income customers or customers that are participating in our customer assistance program, because they're really the ones that have less of an ability to make these types of changes and expend those dollars to actually do that type of work. So one example for a single family residential customer that we've completed work for this particular customer, we installed the A-Station Smart Controller. They had 3 broken drip lines that we repaired, installed 22 precision nozzles, high efficiency nozzles, 2 valves that we replaced, and then they had 3 broken pop-up sprinklers that we replaced as well as part of the program. For a multifamily residential, you can see kind of what that looks like here. For that, we installed 2 16-station controllers. They had 8 broken drip lines that we fixed as part of the program, 87 nozzles, 3 valves, and 6 pop-up sprinklers that we replaced as part of the program for them. So this program launched, it really launched again as an irrigation controller install program, evolved pretty quickly to this larger scale program. Since September of 2020, when we launched that initial program, we've had almost 1,800, over 1,700 customers that have participated in the program. The breakdown there, it's primarily single family residential that participates. I don't think that's much of a surprise, but almost 1,700 of those are single family residential. We have done 24 multifamily and 29 commercial. We have a couple other 100 that are in process right now, that are either scheduled or in process of being scheduled or have expressed interest in the program. So this has been probably, for the type of program this is, one of our most popular programs that we've been able to offer to customers. For those that want to take a quick QR code scan here, if you do that, you'll get to our tune-up page where customers sign up for the program, but that's the link to the website or the web page where that program lives. And then this, as I said, this program was featured as a case study in the US EPA report, the Assistance That Saves report. We're particularly pleased that it was included here. As I said at the beginning, save water and keep bills affordable. So this really were case studies on how WaterSense partners were including water efficiency into affordability programs and linking those two. And this program is something that we've really tried to do that with. And then I'll wrap up here with resources for you. Again, that's the link to that EPA report. And then you can go directly to our conservation page at calwater.com/conservation, or we've actually developed a drought specific site that is drought.calwater.com that people can go to and get more information on our efforts around the drought. And with that, Kevin, I will answer any questions.
Sounds good. Thank you for that explanation of the landscape tune-up program. First question, is there no charge to the customer? And if not, where does the money come from for the program?
So money comes through rates, so there's no additional charge. So our rates include a component that funds our conservation program for our customers. So this is at no additional charge beyond their normal rates that they would pay for the program.
And do customers apply to the tune-up program? How does that work? And how many customers are you able to provide the program for on a yearly basis?
Yeah, so they do not so much apply as requests to participate. So that page that I had shown you there, they fill out their information for us, some basic information, name, account, that type of information. We simply verify that they're a customer and they haven't already gone through the program with us. That information is provided to our contractor, who then schedules their evaluation. We'll go out to the evaluation. We get the report back from the contractor. We review their recommendations. We approve those things that will have them go back out and actually repair and replace. And the contractor goes out and makes those changes for the customer through a second appointment.
And go ahead.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Another question, what is the water savings on average for all sites?
Yeah, so we have numbers through savings numbers through the end of 2021. So we are looking at water savings on an annual basis. So we'll include the 2022 savings at the end of this year. So there's a little bit of mismatch on the numbers that I gave you before, because that's the total participants since September of 2020 through actually current through just a few days ago. That's 1,700 participant number. But the savings from that end of 2020 and then through 2021, annual savings are about 20 million gallons per year, and the lifetime savings of those were about 150 million gallons total. And I would expect that those numbers are going to probably go up pretty significantly, because I would say roughly half of those 1,700 participants has actually happened in 2022 as the program has become more popular.
One of the other attendees is asking, does the resident have to use a certain amount of water, X units per billing cycle, in order to be eligible for the program?
They do not. They do have to have an irrigation system that we would be going out and evaluating, but we do not put a requirement on the amount. Obviously, those that have lower use will likely have less impacts to their irrigation system. In most of those cases, it includes the evaluation. We provide a limit on the amount of work that can be done at that first visit by the contractor. So if there's just a replacement of a couple heads that have to occur, likely for that type of small use customer, they can do on-site during that first visit, so they don't have to go back out and make those repairs. But for more extensive work that has to be done, like I showed you on those examples, that'll take a second visit to go out.
And are there restrictions for the tune-up program? You mentioned that people don't apply so much as they request, but are there any particular restrictions that customers have to face?
The only limit on this is going to be a budget limit, right? So we do have money that's allocated to our conservation program. So as long as we have funding available remaining in that conservation program, we can continue to offer the program to those customers, as long as they haven't already participated in the program. That's really the other limit.
And what vendor was selected for Smart Sprinkler?
Yeah, so our contractor for that is Valley Soil, who's out of Riverside. We did select a single contractor for this program, primarily for consistency and for the administrative aspect of it. So they needed to be able to work throughout all of our service areas in California. So that's one way in which we've structured the program.
And what would you say is the turnaround time from the initial request to the inspection? Does it take days? Does it take weeks or longer?
It does take weeks. Ideally, we're typically within 2 to 3 weeks. It depends on the availability of the customer. It can take up to 4 weeks, depending on getting everything scheduled and at peak times. But we do strive to get out there within the first 2 to 4 weeks from when the customer has requested it. We'll get a report back typically within 2 weeks after that, and then we'll get them scheduled for them to go out and do any additional work if we've approved that.
Okay, and then the last question for you during this session, compared to your in-home previous program, what has this outside focus program yielded in savings by comparison for the investment needed to achieve them?
Yeah, it's hard to say. We'll be doing a full analysis after this year on the return on the investment for this particular program. I do know that our bathroom fixture replacement program was really highly effective, and Obviously, it's less cost effective than a rebate program in some ways, but you're not getting as many free riders in a direct install program, so that's offset a bit by that. These are rebates that we're offering to customers anyway on outdoor products, and to be able to get out there and make these types of changes for customers who may not otherwise be able to do it themselves, I think is really, really critically important.
All right, Ken, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
And we turn to our final panelist now, and that's Jim Pfeiffer, who is with the Regional Water Authority. Jim.
Hi, thank you, Kevin. I am Jim Pfeiffer. I'm the Executive Director of the Regional Water Authority. We represent 21 member agencies in the greater Sacramento region. Collectively, our member agencies serve water to over 2 million people. I'm here today to talk about two items. One is successful rebates aimed at businesses and institutions, and also some of our recent public polling. So, short summary of this is we are partnering with Save Our Water this week to promote the use of this rebate that you see here on the slide by local businesses. We had a landscape makeover, and you can see those pictures here. It's a really beautiful landscape. This is a great case study to demonstrate the power of rebates, the seed funding to inspire people to take action. As a matter of fact, this business in the city of Folsom, just recently, we're having a press conference tomorrow at this location with Save Our Water. And a neighboring business right across the street is requesting a rebate, and they will be making over their landscaping too. So the more people that see this, the more visibility that we get, the more of a critical mass that we experience with landscape conversions. Rebates are investments in our communities and California's water-wise future. Indeed, it's to help make conservation a California way of life. We are grateful to our state partners. It's often the state of California Department of Water Resources for funding water-wise rebate programs. But in this case, it was from a private partner through Procter & Gamble, through the Bonneville Environmental Foundation. So there are other opportunities besides the state of California for obtaining funding for rebates. The landscape pilot project is now finished and it's completed. And we're working on 10 more sites right now in the greater Sacramento region. So we also launched a second CII rebate program, one aimed at indoor water use efficiency. We're targeting breweries, restaurants, laundries, and other small businesses. I should add that Amy Talbot, who is also my colleague here at the RWA, is available to answer questions, and she is going to put her name and contact information here in the chat. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, Frank. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about our focus groups and public opinion survey research. We do a lot of this, and we've been doing this for years. We do both focus groups and public opinion surveys to help improve our programs, ensure that we are able to connect with our customers, and make sure that they have the tools and resources to reduce their water demands. Public perceptions. We're really interested in where people get their information, what concerns and desires there are, and what barriers there exist to which inhibit actions. We have ongoing regular information gathering with focus groups and surveys. Every few years we do them. We are tracking trends and looking at our messaging to see what is successful and is not successful, what messages get through, what inspires people, and so on. Also, we learn new things about our water conservation programs. For example, in the last drought, we were losing our tree canopy. According to the California Natural Resources Agency, the city of Sacramento had an 8% loss in its tree canopy. 11% of its tree canopy was in poor condition. So we're aiming or trying to align our messaging to make sure that people continue to water their trees, but they sacrifice their lawn. And hopefully they participate in a rebate to get rid of their lawn and put in a water-wise landscape. Next slide, please. So short summary, of our polling information and our focus group information, drought is a serious concern in California, in the Sacramento region. It's really interesting to find that it ranks up there along with inflation. People perceive us to be in a permanent state of drought right now. 72% of people feel that way. They just feel like we're always in a state of drought. 86% of people agree that in even normal times of rainfall, we have a shortage of water. So that's really interesting. I think that it's really helpful to get this message out. We all have a responsibility for water use efficiency. 92% of people agree with that. 55% of people are willing to replace their lawn. 68% of people are willing to give their trees extra water. And 40% of people are willing to reduce their irrigation on their lawn or even not water it. So some things that we've heard before, and some things that are new. Everyone needs to do their part, not just residents. So businesses need to do that. Corporations need to do that. Folks still tend to think that they use more water indoors than outdoors, which is really interesting. People are afraid of an ugly landscape. That's a barrier. So this is also an opportunity. If we can show that we can provide, or residents and businesses can install beautiful landscapes, that could be an element of change. And I know a lot of a number of agencies throughout Sacramento really try to promote beautiful landscapes and highlight those. New issue, drought and emergency fatigue. And with that, Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Jim. Really interesting survey that there's that much awareness of drought being a serious problem in California. That may have something to do with the fact that we have almost a permanent state of wildfire season as well. But you were surprised by that, weren't you?
We were. That was a really interesting finding to learn that people just thought we were in a permanent state of drought. They thought the drought started about 10 years ago and hasn't ended. Many people.
But people are more receptive to the idea of removing their lawns if in fact there's some means for them to help have that paid for.
Some people might do it on their own, but we're finding that there was a huge demand for rebates in the last drought and in this drought. So yes, that does tend to be the case. And we're really excited that the state of California is providing a great deal of funding for rebates. So we're looking forward to that. I would imagine many water agencies across the state are thinking the same thing.
And you touched on this, but even with the high awareness of drought, how do you specifically take steps to combat drought fatigue? The idea that people are just not going to pay attention.
That's a real tough one, Kevin. It's real, it's happening. But I think that the key there is to find new ways to allow people to conserve water, change your messages from time to time, be very encouraging. I think that's a key to doing that. I think also resources to be able to provide customers with the ability to reduce their water demands. You saw some of those examples earlier with the other presenters.
And I'm interested in hearing maybe from some of the other panelists at this point on that same question about drought fatigue. What ideas can you offer for addressing that? Let me go with, let me pick on Ed Stevenson.
All right. Well, that is tough. That's really tough. And I think, what we're hearing from scientists is that we may have just simply been enjoying a different, an unusual hydrology over the last several decades. And that this may be more of the norm, and certainly with a changing climate, this is likely to be something that's expected. And frankly, I feel like many people are starting to understand that. But I think that that's going to be an important part of all of our messaging moving forward. I know the state is taking big strides in that direction, and certainly I think that's the right move. But it's going to be tough on all of our customers.
And Haley, what thoughts do you have about that?
Oh yes, I completely agree. It's, we keep hearing this this word drought fatigue. And it's just really about educating our customers that, unfortunately, it really is just our California way of life. We may recover it from, a year or two from now, but, unfortunately, we're not out of the woods. And so it's really just focusing on that message that this is something that we need to just become part of our life and make those practices our normalcy.
And Ken, you want to wrap that one up?
Yeah, I would just add, I think it's about our relationships with our customers, right? And having that ongoing conversation with them. And it can't be, you need to do this. It's, this is how we can help you do this. And this is why this is such a great forum to find ways to go about accomplishing that.
All right, thank you. And then let me wrap up with one more question from the audience for Jim. What estimate would you offer on the proportion of residential water that's consumed outside the home on the landscape? What number do you use?
It changes where you are in the state. I'm going to say that within this greater Sacramento region where it's warmer, we have these hot summers, roughly 2/3 of water use is consumed outdoors and 1/3 indoors.
Okay, sounds good. That I think wraps up the questions that I think we had from the audience, unless I don't see any others, unless I see any others pop up here. And so if that's the case, really want to thank the panelists. And this takes us now to the point where people in the audience can share information or comments if they'd like. And so, as we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, if you would like to speak up, hit the raise hand portion on Zoom, and the staff will get the staff's attention, and then we'll allow you to make your comment or share your information. So hit that raise hand icon if you'd like to participate at this point. Okay, it looks like I'm going to call on Julie Ortiz.
Great, thank you so much. I'm with the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. I just wanted to mention one unique and different way we expanded our drought outreach campaign this year. We did a partnership with Major League Baseball San Francisco Giants, and it helped us reach new audiences across our regional system with a real focus on encouraging people to shave down summertime outdoor use and fix leaks. So our partnership included public service announcements with the Giants mascot, Lucille, for those of you who've been to Oracle Park. We also had extensive social media. We had an e-blast. All of this was co-messaged with the Giants and baseball imagery and language. We had radio ads in English and Spanish that ran during games. We also had some TV drop-ins where the announcers read our messaging between batters and innings. And we had in-person activations. We were able to staff tables at 5 games where we had tremendous amount of real positive interaction with fans, over 3,000 folks we talked to, and people really enjoyed our branded rally towels. So I just wanted to note that it was a real positive and successful addition to our drought outreach this year.
Those are great ideas. Thank you. Let me call on Michael DeGhetto.
Hi, Kevin. This is Michael DeGhetto from City of Glendale. One thing that was really helped us with our outreach was press releases, and then just being available for reporters that would call in and want to speak to us. Just having a good idea of what the press release was about, and then being very accommodating to the reporters. Like I did several interviews on the different local stations around here, and I mean, I just have to say, part of that I think was some training that I was fortunate enough to have with you on how to speak to reporters, and that was just really helpful.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much. Let me just for a moment go back to the panelists. I have an attendee wondering, do any of you see rate structures playing a more important role in conservation, or is this limited with current interpretations of Prop 218? Who would like to take that one? do rate structures play a more important role in conservation or limited due to Prop 218?
I'm going to say that both of those are correct. I'm not an attorney. You may want to seek the guidance of an attorney when it comes to Proposition 218. But yeah, there's limitations on Prop 218, but rate structures could potentially be part of the solution.
Yeah, and I'll just add, there was a pretty detailed study done by the University of North Carolina maybe 6-7 years ago that tried to look at that question and essentially was not really conclusive in either direction in terms of whether rates really do affect water usage. Certainly at the extremes it would, but Proposition 218 is certainly an issue that we all have to keep in mind. And so, you know, it certainly becomes a factor in all of our rate setting processes. At ACWD, I mentioned our 15% water shortage emergency stage rate, and you know, effectively increasing water rates by 15%. And we did see reductions in water use, but that was also coupled with lots of other activities supporting water use reductions.
All of you have been talking about customer outreach and the importance. One of the folks in the audience is asking, has your agency worked with local or statewide celebrities to get the message out? Save Our Water has worked with social media influencers. Has there been an effort to enlist celebrities in this regard?
For Elsinore Valley, I wouldn't say necessarily a celebrity, but similar to what Julie was talking about previously, is we actually have partnered with our local baseball stadium, a minor league team, and utilize, like, they have a popular mascot that we like to use for like social media videos. But that's the closest thing we've done as far as, you know, the celebrities.
Kevin, I'm going to say that we've been working quite a bit with meteorologists, with media, and they help get the word out for this. I think that has been really helpful.
And that, you know, I heard that discussion last year at a water event over in Monterey, and I just think that is such a great idea because the meteorologists are very interested in this anyway. You don't have to sell them on it, and they're such a great messenger. So anybody who can reach out to broadcast meteorologists and enlist their help with regard to this, you are money ahead on that for sure. That's a great idea. Other questions or comments or sharing from the audience? If so, please hit that raise hand icon on the screen. And we do have somebody who wants to speak up, and that's Kelly Zito.
Hi there, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, great. So similar to the one of the previous comments, we've developed a partnership with KTVU in the Bay Area, a TV station, and their meteorologists featured some of our water conservation tips. They did some stories, you know, featuring some of our guidance around drought-friendly landscaping, and they developed a kind of a micro site with some of our again, water conservation information. And then I will say that another kind of interesting twist this time around for us was we did 5-minute shower songs with Pandora, so that you know, people could dial up these playlists and just know that they were, you know, showering for just 5 minutes and not more than that. And we tried to feature local artists in those. And I think some other pieces that have been helpful are, you know, our water conservation team holds office hours pretty regularly so that people can dial in and have their questions answered about, you know, their drip irrigation systems, or, you know, just understand a little bit more about drought-friendly landscaping, et cetera. And yeah, we've just found that, you know, making the tone of our messages sort of upbeat and practical, giving people specific information that they can use at home, and you know, tying into that kind of optimistic kind of feel for sort of, you know, we're in this together kind of take on it. So that's just what I wanted to share from East Bay Mud.
Great ideas. I had not heard about the 5-minute shower song. That's great. All right. Do we have? Here's a question from the audience. Let's see. What they're asking is, isn't it obvious to identify the couple percent of users that are the largest users and then reach out to them and consult with them directly? So I'm wondering if anybody wants to talk about efforts to reach out to those high consumers.
I'll offer some thoughts. The answer to that is yes. Many of our member agencies do that. They
First, enter your PIN to unlock the device.
Oh no, Siri's talking to you.
Sorry.
They use automated meter infrastructure to track leaks. There's other ways of finding high water users, and they're able to make contact with that customer and follow up with them if they are using a lot of water over time. They're very good at finding leaky toilets and the like. So the answer to that question is absolutely.
Yeah, I would just add, I absolutely agree with that. It's part of the solution, right? So we do a lot of different targeted marketing efforts. One is to high users. One may be to low income customers that have really specific programs that are tailored to those customers. We may reach out with a special program for, say, restaurants or hotels or things that are really useful to them. I think what people are used to now is all of this, the world we live in, they're getting ads that are relevant to them. So we have to compete with that and provide information that are relevant to our customers, or it just gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, and just to add on to that a little bit more, what we've been doing, especially with this non-functional turf mandate that's come out, is we really have been focusing on our high irrigation users. Unfortunately, that's coming down to our local cities, and they have parks that they need to maintain. Similar with HOAs, they have certain common areas that they need to maintain. But it really is just putting out that messaging and trying to find more dedicated areas for them individually, what they can do to help with their efficiency efforts.
Yeah, and I'll just add on, I mean, really, we're all looking for the biggest impact that we can make and to help achieve our objectives, right? And so like others in my agency, we one of the things we do is focus on those larger irrigation meter owners and CII customers and so forth, and we'll do landscape audits. We track usage and so forth, and we'll work with folks individually to help them conserve.
Kevin, if I could just add one last thing.
Please.
I think these are all important. We want to do find those big users, but I also think we want to make water conservation a California way of life. So big and small changes are needed for the future.
In that regard, let me pose the question to the audience. Is there anything that you would like to share about your district's unique conservation programs? If anybody does have details, information they'd like to share about conservation efforts that they've undertaken, please hit your raise hand button. You'll be called upon. We'd be interested. So let me go to Ursula Schmidt. Ursula?
Yes, hi, Kevin. Are you able to hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm from the city of Pasadena and Pasadena Water and Power down here in Southern California. And I wanted to share one of the things that we did was we wanted to raise awareness, obviously, of the drought in our community, but also be able to help those folks that were out there that may need help with irrigation issues. So we partnered with the operations side of our water division and trained all of our water operators and staff that's out in the field on our water waste enforcement program, on what the watering restrictions were, on how to identify water waste in the community. And then we organized sort of water patrols to go out into the community every day. We had 10 team members, 5 teams of 2 that would patrol in the early morning hours. And the purpose of this was to help identify, where there was water waste, where there were leaks, where there's overspray, maybe irrigation issues that have to be addressed, and also if people were watering on the wrong day, because our water waste ordinance restricts the watering days and times. And then the second step, and the first step then with that customer contact would be that those operators that were out in the field that were doing this work on behalf of the water conservation team, we call them our PWP team water savers. They would leave door hangers for those customers as sort of the first customer touch point, and then provide us with information, and we'd be able to follow up with those customers and offer them like a free irrigation checkup and tune-up, or refer them to one of our other programs, or invite them to participate in an irrigation tune-up workshop, which we would hold virtually. So we found that to be very successful. We had a lot of folks actually sign up for our irrigation checkup and tune-up program as a result of that. But that first touch point of having teams out in the community, and I think lots of water divisions, you know, our water conservation team is in the water resource planning section, and we have so many staff members that are meter readers, that are operators, that are out there in the community, and just being able to leverage and partner with those different sections in an agency and see if you can have them help you in terms of reaching the customers that are out in the community in person, you know, to actually be the boots on the ground. So I just wanted to share that.
Ursula, thank you for that information. That's very helpful. While we're lining up some other questions, someone wanted to know how much interest is there among the panel members here? How much interest is there in reclaimed water and dual plumbing? How big of a part of the solution is that?
For Elsinore Valley, I do get that somewhat often from our customers, whether it's a residential customer or like a larger HOA community. They are interested in figuring out how they can do recycled water. For our particular service area, we are limited with our supply sources for recycled water. We're currently under an expansion, but for us in particular, we don't have that as much availability at the moment to expand to those interested.
Anybody else?
I would say water reuse more generally is going to be a big part of the solution. We're kind of at an inflection point with DPR regulations, direct potable reuse regulations, coming out from the State Water Board, looks like next year, with options for indirect potable reuse. There's several ways in which you can go about doing it. And I think some of the challenge right now from a traditional purple pipe standpoint is if it's not already installed, the concern for stranded assets as DPR maybe becomes more available, and that's really potentially a bigger part of the future. So yes, it is part of the solution, and it just depends on which avenue suppliers choose to go.
Yeah,
all right. And
I'll just add on to what Ken said. I think that's the same scenario we're evaluating. A parallel system is extremely expensive, additional maintenance and so forth, and it may not be the future. It's really reclaimed water in general, and our agency has been looking at indirect potable reuse as a supply source to leverage that same resource without the additional infrastructure.
All right, and we have Hugh Wiggins in the queue in the audience, so let me call on Hugh at this point.
Hello, Kevin. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Gotcha. So Hugh Wiggins from the Judicial Council of California. We run the courts buildings in California, and so we touch a lot of the different water districts in California, almost all of them. And I was just wondering if there's been any thought or if there's an appetite to kind of inject this messaging that we're all talking about into state agency buildings, so we can get the message out even farther through that the infrastructure that we've got right now, or the buildings that we've got right now.
I'd like to take that, Kevin. Yeah. Hey, Hugh.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking the question. I'm happy to report that there was $26 million in the budget that was enacted just a few months ago, that for the Department of General Services for water use efficiency improvements on state buildings. So, and I know DGS has got a pretty active committee of folks looking at it, trying to figure out how to track it and do a better job, because we understand we've got to be models.
Gotcha. Okay. And I was specifically wondering about signage. I mean, that seems like a pretty simple thing to do, and might be
well, the Save Our Water
easy to inject.
The Save Our Water team here that helped organize this event today, they can connect you with signage as well.
That would be phenomenal. I will check the chat, and yeah.
Put your email in the chat, Hugh, okay?
Absolutely, I will. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks to both of you. Let me call on John Norwood.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thanks, Kevin. John Norwood. I do government relations work for the California Pool and Spa Association. And I just wanted to add in terms of resources that we're sponsoring a Let's Pool Together campaign. We're partners with the Save Our Water campaign. We did that during the last 4-year drought or continuing drought, whatever. We re-energized it again this year. We have all kinds of resources for existing swimming pool and spa owners on how to conserve water. These resources can be put in newsletters, bill stuffers, door hangers. We're doing social media and media outreach, as well as we've taped some public service pieces. So, there's like 1.3 million residential pool owners in California. It's growing, annually by, 13 to 15,000 plus commercial pools. So there's a lot of water that can be saved. And I think that if, some districts can use that to go out to their consumers and their citizens, and maybe that will help as well.
All right, John, thank you very much. At this point, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the seminar. We've had a lot of great information and great ideas, which is what we've been hoping for. So a big thanks to the audience, a huge thanks to the panel, and I'm going to turn it back over to Nancy Vogel to wrap things up for us. Nancy.
Hey, Kevin, thanks. Thanks for a great job moderating. Thanks to the Save Our Water team and to Ken and to Jim and Haley and to Ed for great presentations. And I think we all learned something. I hope we all got a little bit of inspiration as well. I really do appreciate all the creative ideas in the last 90 minutes. And we at the state, we do want to facilitate ideas sharing, but we're going to look to ACWA and CMUA and see, CUWA and to the California Water Association, and thanks to CalWEP as well. Hopefully you can keep this kind of idea exchange going. You can provide a platform. You don't need the state to take the lead on this. And let's just all go out there with our enthusiasm now and our new ideas and try to get through this coming year and hope that the rains return. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everybody.